Today is such a wonderful day. It's exciting seeing people coming together from different backgrounds, cultures, race groups, so diversity, which is what Bridges for Music is all about, which is what Sky is all about. And I'm just excited to host Dice and just to come and learn, and experience, and him living the skill.
Let's start with you quickly.
Hello, everybody.
Just give us a some quick insight into how your last few days have been here. How are you feeling about our country?
I feel home.
That's a good start.
I feel good. It's a very positive energy here and a good vibe. And I was blessed to have a small peek here through Cliptown with Bob. And yeah, I want to spend some more time, talk with more people, and get a deeper view of everything.
You talked about how when you travel, you really like to immerse yourself and not do all the touristy stuff. And have you found we've managed to do that for you so far?
They always have a huge idea of museums, and you have to see this and you have to see that. And I always say, screw that, man. I want to go through the streets and just do it my own way, see it through my eyes, and have my own view. And I think it's only you can catch the realness only when you're like deep inside and you find out the places and you see what's going on. And hopefully, and this is the goal always worldwide, to meet some cool people from that area who show you more, and you end up in a house having dinner with the family or something. And that's the cool thing about traveling.
Cool, good. Let's start. Let's take it back and start. I want to know about your career. I know you've told it 1,000 times, but all these guys are dying to hear. When did Loco Dice know that he was going to make music?
Ooh, that was way back in time, on the breakfast table when my mom was torturing me with Julio Iglesias. And this guy did his albums in 5 languages, so I had to hear it in English, Italian, Spanish, German, French. Thanks God nothing is in my influential music career. And before my father left us, he left me Santana tapes. I'm from North Africa, Tunisia, so I grew up with Bob Marley. And yeah, this is the music, and I always knew that music is something special in my life without knowing about it being a DJ, a rapper, or whatever. I just knew music is something very special, and not that I want to be a superstar and make all that money. No, I thought this could help me in life. It's like a religion to believe into something, and it leads me to where I am now, and I'm very, very grateful that I followed this path. And then later you start fiddling around with certain things, you meet friends, neighbors, kids, and all of a sudden you're a DJ. it happens so quick.
And when you were DJing, you weren't playing electronic music.
Sorry?
You weren't playing electronic music. That's not where you started. let's talk about where you started. This man has opened for Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, who else? The list goes on. Okay, but you would not, Tell us about that. And where that's
started way back. Of course. I mean, I grew up in Düsseldorf, in Germany, and as a son, immigrated to Germany. And hip hop was something which gave me kind of real thing. How we grew up and everything. By that time, I was listening a lot to Public Enemy, which was the most important thing in my life. And then later to all that gangster shit, Ice-T and Snoop Dogg and all that. So yeah, and then I started to rap. I started, back in the days, the albums, they had all the lyrics inside and an instrumental version. So you put the instrumental version and you try to repeat how these guys are rapping. And in your free time, I mean, English was not my second language, it was German. And you try like, pretending rapping in English, and it sounded dope by that time. I wish I could record it. It would be amazing. So it was pretty dope, and the friends in the hood, they all believed, wow, he's a crack, man. He know how to speak English, and that was bullshit, man. So yeah, it worked out, and I worked my way up. I learned English, and then comes the famous call from Sharita Knight by that time saying, yeah, Snoop wants opening act, and I was by that time one of the acts who did like the G-Funk, and that was my door opener to all that.
Crazy. Did you ever want to be a rapper?
Yeah.
Yeah? Were you ever a rapper?
Yeah.
Now that's news to me, so I've never asked you that before.
No.
Tell us more.
When we did our first stuff with the band Chana, I was the rapper in the group. Thank God, that material doesn't exist anymore. But I understand what he's saying, about English, and we used to sing like Michael Jackson songs, and I look back, I don't know what the fuck I was saying, when I was singing those lyrics. They never made sense, but it sounded like English,
How amazing was it when you understood actually what they were
Yeah,
saying?
man.
Something opened up like a flower. Really?
What a lot of cuck they were singing.
Like the worst songs you've been hooked on and singing, and you're like, oh no, I gotta change that chapter, man.
So you sort of transitioned over to electronic music, and we were talking in K-Town about how you sort of built yourself up. And what was really interesting to me is how you discussed how you opened for guys, and your approach to being the opening DJ. Maybe you could just take us through that process and how that allowed you to elevate and build.
When I moved from hip-hop to electronic music, it was in '98. I had not really that help by a DJ or someone that was like showing me how to produce or how to DJ. Man, I come from hip-hop, so I thought I'm the best DJ anyway. That's the hip-hop mentality. But then finding out that I was not very welcomed in the electronic scene early in that day, because I looked different, I was different, I played different, so I thought, okay, I have to start again on zero and work my way up. How can I do that? I can do that by learning about the music, learning about the DJs, the various styles, so I can talk with the actual techno heads, or by that time you didn't have that much nerds as you have now, but you had some of them. So I was really open-minded, and that was a good thing, that I was not just in one scene listening just to techno. I was listening to everything, whatever comes in my hands. If it's Lil Louis Vega or if it's Basic Channel, everything was possible. And I collected the records. And then I understood, like, okay, how can I impress my people, my crowd, and how can I impress the other DJs? I should not play the same like they do. I should find those B2, this C3, D4 track on their record, and try to find a cool groove which is not boring, driving, grooving, and bringing it up slowly before the peak. So the main DJ, the headliner, when he comes, he doesn't need to cut my track. I want him to mix into my track, into my style, and continue the peak through the night. And well, I worked on this many years as a resident DJ, and a guy named Timo Maas came up, and he was a big fan, and he's like, you know what? I like what you're doing. I want to take you to the United States. Come with me as an open act DJ. And from there on, it worked out. A lot of DJs were like, oh, Loco Dice, okay, cool, yeah. Because I was not disturbing, I was not competing with the headliners. I was just adding something to the party, to that project.
Do you think we have an issue with that here? Do you find like if guys are opening before you that they're trying to like push it as hard as they can, or do you think they're respectful and subtle? What do you think of that?
They are, but it's understandable, man. It's the hunger, and some guys, it doesn't come from a bad place. They want to show you, like, I want to show you how good I am, Only the experienced one will understand the power of an opening DJ, and do things right and build it, well. But it comes with experience, like younger guys will. Like last night, I had 4 gigs to do, and the last one I played it was almost 4 in the morning. And obviously the people were anxious, they've been waiting, and so I get there, it's time to play. But the guy didn't want to stop, and not because he's like, he just wants to show me what he can do, So it's that hunger, just say, look, I'm good, see what I can do as well, Maybe there's an opportunity for me as well, wherever, whatever, you know. So it's there, man. It's there.
We were talking in Cape Town. You were telling us about how when you first tried to break into the electronic scene, it was quite protective and quite cliquey and quite difficult to break through. And do you find that we're cliquey here? Do you find that we're quite open, or do you have to work your way through and navigate all those kind of politics?
This year is my 10th year anniversary. You know, I first dropped my first album in 2005. You know, so it's my 10th year professionally. And for the past 9 years, I have been so naive, you know, and I always thought there were no cliques. I always thought everyone's cool, and I used to say this a lot. No, I'm cool with everyone, you know. Everyone's cool with everyone. But now I'm starting to open my eyes and realize that actually there are cliques, you know. In South Africa, it's a very, there's no scene per se, you know. There's DJs and venues, you know. And through traveling, I've seen, I mean, internationally, there's different scenes and different styles. And in those scenes and styles, there's always a gatekeeper, you know. But locally, there isn't a scene per se. You know, if a guy wants to book you, if they think you're cool, they will book you. You know, you'll come play. No one can really be in your way, you know, because we don't have much clubs and we don't have much control with the music per se, that like a direction, you know. But slowly, man, the cliques are growing, and it's kind of worrying, you know. The cliques, the comments, you start seeing, you know, people being protective of certain genres and, you know, how it's supposed to be presented and, you know, who plays where, you know. But in the past, I don't think they used to be.
And I think, obviously, as our industry evolves, things do change. I mean, do you find that things are more open now than when you started in the electronic music industry?
Hell no. No way. I had to start my own clique to be a clique. You know what I mean?
That's the way to go. Man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, electronic music is a big family. But in that family, you have clans. And all these guys, they have their leader, and the rest follows. And it's not only the artists, it's also the fans, the crowd, it's the promoters, it's everything. When a DJ is hot at that moment, everything around him is hot. And it goes fast. It can go from a half year to the next half year, from season to season. All of a sudden you look around, you're like, wait a minute, I'm not cool anymore? I didn't change anything, man. But this is how it is, you know? And I think what you have to do is just believe in what you're doing, you know? Don't try to adapt to that thing. Just continue your flow, your positive thing. It will work out, and the real people will always stay with you. And also your surrounding, you know? It's important what you said before. I was very naive too before that time, and I thought everybody likes me, everybody loves me. It's not a South African thing, bro. It's a worldwide thing, unfortunately. And it's important for young producers or DJs to be aware of this, that it's difficult. It's not only peace, love, harmony. You have to hustle hard, and it's a lot of elbows. But when you got skills, you got skills. Nobody can take away that skills. When you're inspired, when you have a dream, you follow your goal, you will reach your goal. Nobody can take that away from you. And the most important thing, and this is what I realized in this music industry, is I like to hang around with positive people. People who bring me down, people who are just competitive, and people who have different goals than me. Peace, brother. That's it. You know? I don't want to start trouble. I don't want to try to be a preacher. I don't want to, even now, I don't try to tell you what is right or what is wrong. All I can tell you is this is the way I roll. This is the way I see things. And everybody should do the same, you know? That's the important thing. And you will have fun when you hang out with the people that you like, that gives you good energy, and they will help you to go there where you want to be.
It's a great approach, really nice approach. Do you ever get concerned about relevance in terms of the style that you're putting out? Do you think a lot about the next step and where it's going and how to maintain relevance and keep your positioning, so to speak?
Not really, you know, because I can only control so much, you know. In a set, I can play so much music, And it's not music that is made by me. You know, it's music that is made by mostly guys who have no record deals. It's songs that are not even released. You know, I can't plan, you know, I can't plan anything around that. The only thing I always plan for is what's the next plan for me. You know, as a brand, you know, I always tell guys, you always have to be working on something. You can't sit and think, okay, I'm getting the bookings, I'm DJing every weekend, it's all good. You know, I don't believe in that personally. I believe in, okay, cool. Is there a single coming? Is there an album coming? Is there a tour coming? Is there a collaboration coming, you know? Just to keep growing, you know. But as far as being a DJ and playing, there's so much one can do, really.
I want to talk about the business side of music, because you guys, one thing you have in common is that you set your own infrastructure up. So Natty set up his own label, you've set up your own label, a management company, and they do both. Tell me about why did you decided to do that, and how that happened. I know you've got a long-term partner that you've been working with on that side. Describe why you felt the need to do that.
Nobody wanted me.
I feel like I need to give you a hug, bro. We want you here, bro. We want you here.
It was a time when I thought I'm ready for the dance floor, but there was nobody thinking the same, saying, oh, you're ready, I want you in my agency. So I'm like, you know what? I do it by myself. And then later, I mean, I was blessed knowing a lot of good people, and they released my stuff, like Josh Wink, Richie Houghton. I was very lucky in that time, and I had a good run, like you said. When you sit at home and you work on your albums and you work on your music, you know if somebody gonna sign them, there's the next step, there's the next step. Just DJing is difficult. So I started to think, okay, you know, if I'm gonna wait for that person to release my record, if I'm gonna wait for that manager who doesn't speak my language, who never gonna know what I'm thinking, I have to do everything by myself. So for me, what I've learned is you have to look over your shoulder, to the left, to the right. You always find someone who's hanging with you for 10 years, and all of a sudden, man, you're the perfect manager. And
as long as it's not your girlfriend.
No.
Because that always gets complicated.
No. I mean, in our electronic scene, the girls are controlling the agents. They are the head of everything. All the big DJs got a girl as an agent. I mean, the girls rule this business. There's no man who can compete with them. So you just have to look around and find the right people. And sometimes you have to exchange. Sometimes your homie from the block is not the right guy who take care of your financial things. Okay, but you learn from it. You have to learn early, but you learn. And then you just exchange. You measure things, you bring them together, and all of a sudden you have a management agency, you have an agency, you have a record label, you have a merchandise company. Everything is possible. Just set it up. And my goal was always, I didn't spend my money on crazy cars or watches or whatever. The first money I made, I reinvested it in the studios. I reinvested it in new artists who helped to inspire me, to roll with me on the road, so I'm not alone. This is the most important thing. DJs are very lonely sometimes, you know, and I'm coming from hip-hop. I need that team, I need that crew around me. And I set it all up. I reinvested in everything, and I think where I am now, I have to be thankful for all these people. Everybody took a part of it, you know? And like I said, like you said, if you sit at home and you just wait, nothing gonna happen. And today is more difficult than it used to be 10 years ago, man.
I was taking the power back, and I mean, you know, a lot of artists, whether in all genres of music, if you actually, the successful ones, if you actually dig down into who they are, they're always all over their business. They know exactly what's going on. What inspired you to set up Solistic? Same kind of thing, or?
Yeah, similar, you know. They say if you want to go fast, go alone. You know, if you want to go far, you know, go with other people. And I think from the beginning, my dream was always big, you know, and I figured out, you know, I looked at the guys around me that had inspired me then, you know, and I looked at their operations and I thought, this is cool, this is enough, but how do I go further than they have gone, you know? So I set up an office, and like literally in my house, I just broke down walls, opened a new gate for this guy. I hired Amaru to walk in, walk out without even me knowing he was there, you know, in the same property that I was staying in. That's how it started. And then we started finding artists that were doing what we loved. You know, for me, it's always been about that as well. I've never seen solistic music as a platform to make money. You know, I've always seen it as a platform to assist, you know, and help artists that wouldn't actually be recognized by anyone else, you know, and also just help them find a direction, you know, because house music has been an underground thing forever, but we live in a country where it's different. It's on radio, it's on TV, and how does one strike that balance, you know? How do you change underground music and make it, you know, a household thing, you know, but still remaining underground, you know? So help them strike that balance, you know. So over the years, we've created, you know, quite good names and bigger family, you know. It went as far as creating a structure even outside the country, you know, and now we have a team outside in the States and in Europe as well, you know, that look after us. And amongst us, we know where each person belongs, you know. Every now and then we go out to our gigs and, you know, but based on the structure that was there created. Yeah.
There are parallels, so many parallels there. So do you know about obviously you had a big track here. El Blanco Negro, I think, or I can never pronounce it.
Gallo
Negro. And when did you hear that it was doing well in South Africa?
Where was it? Tomorrowland. Lavish. Is he here? No. There's a homie from South Africa who came to me. He's like, "We know you in South Africa." I'm like,
Was this last year?
"Yeah."
So you only found out last year?
Yeah.
At Tomorrowland? Really? Wow.
I had no clue. I'm like, "Wow, really?" And then when I came here, everybody was out telling me about Flight LB 7475. I'm like, wow. I don't know if even Josh Wink know about that, or maybe somebody told him and he didn't want me to know. Yeah, man, I was like, wow, really? I thought he was joking till I arrived here, and I was like, wow, perfect.
And it's those one tracks sometimes that open those doors.
Yeah, it's always a track that opens doors. It's always a movement or a situation that opened doors, you know. It's like, you have to be there. You have to be there, you have to go there. And with there, I mean certain places, if it's Ibiza, if it's a rave, it could be here. Those places, you know, you have to be aware of them and just go and try your luck. Always have a USB stick or just the contact, or just listen, be inspired, go back home and they say, oh, I can do that too, because everybody can do it. And yeah, the door opener is mainly these days a big track, but it could be also a big headache and a big problem for your own style, because all of a sudden everybody's putting you in that box, that record that you made, this is your stamp. And it takes ages till you get rid of that stamp. So it's good when I heard King T is doing a lot of styles from jazz, hip hop, this and that. It's good that the people know that you are open-minded and you can do more than this. And even then, it's difficult, because when you have that door breaker, pam, there's the stamp.
And you must have had that in a number of territories where you all of a sudden found out one of your tracks was doing really well. What's the first, or is there a particular one that stands out for you? Because there are quite a few now.
There's a lot.
A lot of people playing your stuff.
But I remember I was in Miami and I was taken there by Red Bull the first time I went to Miami. And so I was hanging out with these girls from the same Red Bull crew, you know, and we were having lunch. Well, earlier, I'd taken a walk to a record store, you know, and I found my single in the store, and I actually bought it. I was so surprised it was there. It was released in France by Real Tone. So later on we're hanging out, and you know, so I was telling them, by the way, I took a walk earlier and I found my record in the record store. They're like, oh wow, that's cool. What record is that? You know, and I told them, you know, it's Even Though you know. And all this time we've been hanging out, they didn't know I was Black Coffee, you know. And I didn't feel a need to tell them as well, because I didn't think they would know. You know, they were like, oh my gosh, you Black Coffee, you know? But that song, I mean, was like a New York anthem in the underground scene, you know, at Timmy Regisford's shelter, you know. I didn't know. So because of that song, I mean, the name was so big in the New York club scene. And, you know, the following day I went out and I met this guy called Tommy Bones, who also was surprised I was Black Coffee, because that day I was wearing a t-shirt written Black Coffee. He's like, do you know this guy? You know, I'm like, yeah, man. You know, so he started taking me around, introducing me to everyone. You know, I met Dennis, I met Louis Vega. He introduced me to everyone, you know. And I was wearing the t-shirt, and people would come to me, where did you get that t-shirt? Do you know Black Coffee? You know, so for me, that was one of the highlights. Yeah.
So you got a Big in New York t-shirt. A Big in New York t-shirt.
Yeah,
Did you make one?
I'm huge in New York, man.
Let's talk about traveling, and you know, you guys are playing like all over the world all the time, and you know, from everyone looks at it and it looks like an amazing lifestyle, and there are obviously pros and cons. What are some of the pros of traveling the world, and what are some of the cons?
I mean, the pros is like...
I don't know if there's any, man. No, for me, it's music. You know, just being there and playing. After that, it's the hotel room. It's lack of sleep because of the jet lag. It's, you know, it's connecting flights. It's, you know, like I always tweet when I'm traveling, and people will be like, wow, you're living a life. And it always annoys me. I'm like, I'm actually working, you know. If you knew how hard it is for me to know that I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks and I leave my family behind, and, you know, because I'm in search of greatness, you know. I want to grow, and, you know, it might sound a bit selfish, but I believe that's my reason I'm here, you know. So I travel, and so I'll tweet that I'm off to this and that, and, you know, and people think, wow, and I'm like, you have no idea. You know, it's the music that keeps me sane. It's the music that is always rewarding. You know, when I'm done playing, I'm like, you know, I can go home now. You know, and also for me, I'm like a new kid on the block now all of a sudden. You know, I've been doing this for like 7-8 years internationally, but I've been playing in a different scene. You know, they call it the soulful house scene. And I think in the first 2 years, I did the most important clubs, you know, and then in the last 4 years, I've been going back to the same most important club, which was kind of like starting to, you know, bore me, because, okay, I've been here, you know, I've played all these gigs, I've played with all the guys I used to look up to. You know, I've worked with all these guys I used to look up to. They've remixed my songs. They've released my songs. What's next? You know, so now I'm starting to get into the bigger room. You know, I recently did a BPM festival, the Loco gig. You know, I'm starting to get into that scene, and there I'm a child. You know, I'm listening, I'm watching, I want to know who's who. You know, I met Jamie Jones for the first time ever. I didn't even know how he looked like. You know, I was hanging out there with him and Seth, and, you know, I'm a new kid, you know, in this genre, and back home I'm not, but I understand that, you know, and I'm taking it as I go. Like, I have no arrogance about it. I'm like, you know, let me listen, let me learn, you know, and I look at sometimes what they do, and I think, you know, back home, DJs are much doper, man. There's more effort in playing, but then understand that this is the scene. This is how it's done here. You know, I'm learning, I'm unlearning as well. You know, I'm like, okay, when you play here, you tone down a bit. You know, you don't get a bit hectic so much. You know, like, so I'm a student. You know, I'm starting again. I'm doing this opening sets we were talking about. You know, and I'm content with it. You know, because I want to go for the #1 spot eventually as well, you know. but it starts where I am right now. Yeah.
Slow and steady wins the race, huh?
Yeah, man.
Tell us about Ibiza, a place very close to you, and you spent a lot of time there. And how important was that to your career in terms of the growth of it?
Ibiza was my door opener, Circo Loco by that time. A DJ named Cirillo was one of the founders of the three guys of Circo Loco. His girlfriend, she was a big fan of Loco Dice. I used to do mix CDs, and she used to go out in Düsseldorf, in my city, to my parties. And she told him, hey, you gotta listen to what this guy is doing. And then all of a sudden he came to me, he's like, wow, you have to come to Ibiza, you have to play. And yeah, I played 1, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Every time they told me, come back, come back, come back. So I became a resident. And I was like you, I was like, there was a new step in my music life. I was listening a lot, observing a lot. But I was blind as well, a lot. And it took me, I learned a lot in Ibiza. Ibiza really opened my mind a lot. As much as I love Ibiza, I hate Ibiza as well. And this is the relationship that I got with this island, because it was an intense time that I spent there and I learned there. All my big tracks, they are because of Ibiza, inspired by Ibiza, or inspired by other countries, but the key was Ibiza, because I was always, when I started to produce, I was imagining the dance floor at Amnesia. Seeing Through Shadows is a track made by a night after a night of amnesia, when the smoke machine hits the floor, and the build-up, and how you look at the people, how they start to go, and then, oh, I can go a little bit more trippy now, okay, and then, okay, now it's time to break it down. Boom. This is how I see it. When I produce music, it's a movie in my head. And I'm just the executive. I'm just sitting back and saying how I want it. That's why I never can produce alone. I can't do this. I need always a partner, and always need someone with me in the studio so I can talk with him. You know, am I on the right way? Is this script that I'm writing the right direction? Is the book going to be closed at the end? And this is how it works, you know. So Ibiza is important to each DJ, I would say. A lot of people are dissing Ibiza for change, commercial, everything changed, everything is. But Ibiza is the mecca of electronic music, because all the superstars, all the underground, all the new talents, you find them all there. And you don't need to go and pay all that money to the big superstar clubs. There's so much after hours and things for free on the beach where you discover new talents, where you're like sitting there and you're like, whoa, what is he playing? Bomb. You go there, you're like, who are you? Oh, I'm a kid from Glasgow. Oh, I'm a guy from Italy. Bomb. 2 hours, madness, and you are the one who understands exactly what he's talking about, you know? And then it might inspire you to play better, or you just ask him, hey, do you produce music? Or you want to hang with me? You want to play with me? So because I can add you on my bill and my party, and if you play the same music like you played today, my party is the bomb. I'm the winner. I don't need to play better than you. You play good, everybody talks about my party. Perfect. This is how it works.
Yeah, did you hear that? Let's talk about multiculturalism, because Ibiza is full of people from all over the world, and you have a dynamic background. You know, you're not German. You didn't, you know, even though you grew up there, and obviously being in South Africa, we have a very dynamic multicultural background. Do you think that that's helped you in your career in terms of playing the world?
If I just look at Desolat, at all the guys, I have a Romanian, I have an Austrian, I have a guy from Turkey, I have a guy from Italy, Yaya is from Benin, I have a guy from Morocco. You know, it's so important, multicultural. In Ibiza, when you sit in an after hour, there are people from Australia, from the States. That is beautiful. This is electronic music. It unites nations together, and for me, and this is a pro as a DJ, is learning about the cultures, you know, and adapting to that vibe, and knowing, okay, The Italian and the Spanish guy, okay, they get along together. Oh, let's see, now the English guy is coming in the middle. Let's see how this is gonna work out. And it works out, you know what I mean? It works out, and it's so beautiful to see this combination together and what can happen from this combination, you know? It's like you say, Charles Webster, he comes here to South Africa, he finds out, oh, that's the place to stay. And he spends half of the year here and half in England. And that's the thing, this is what the cultures are bringing us together. Plus, you hear the kind of music that they are playing, you know? You hear the Afro beat and the house music comes from Africa, you know? Lil Louis Vega is not from Africa, you know? He's a Caribbean guy or South American. Where is he from? Puerto Rico, huh? Yeah, South America. And you mix up everything together. Timmy Ridgersford is the best example of bringing all these things under a dirty, rough beat, you know? And this is what you learn, not in Ibiza, but you learn all around the world.
And Nati, obviously our audiences are quite different to international audiences. How have you found adjusting, and how do you approach different territories?
I used to just, you know, play whatever I play here, you know, but now it's a bit different, you know, and I found out that when I start touring, like my first 2 shows, I struggle a bit, because I bring what I've been playing here, you know. This happens the same when I return, you know, I struggle a bit.
The other way around.
Yeah, because of what I've been playing there, you know. I basically look for anything soulful, man. You know, it can be as hard as hell, as long as it's soulful, you know, as long as it moves me, you know, as a DJ. So my sets are basically that, whether it's played at 118 beats per minute or 125, you know, for me, there must be, you know, that element of soul in it, you know. But when I go overseas now, it's a bit different. And honestly, I mean, South Africa seems diverse, but it's not. You know, when I'm here, I play for black people, full stop. You know, which over the years has been such a weird thing for me, you know, because I'll travel, play in Greece, you know, I get there, I'm the only darkie. You know, like literally, you know, I'm the only darkie playing there. And I come back home, you know, in Greece they love Superman so much. I come back, I go to 5FM, I'm like, please playlist this song. The white people love it, you know. What kind of white people are you? You know, like, and then they're like, no, it's too soulful, it's not 5FM kind of song.
It's too black.
Yeah, man. So over the years, it's been such a struggle. And only now, I mean, with the Cape Town Electronic Music Festival, like, I always look forward to it. You get there, the crowd is so diverse. And still, it's mostly tourists, foreigners who are, you know, in Cape Town. But it's the beginning, you know. And that's the kind of South Africa I would love to see, where it's really diverse, you know. Not just, you know, like, it's only, you know, like black people that come to the clubs, and that I'd like to see that diversity in, you know, in every corner. Not that I'm saying they must come to Soweto, you know, at Banyaza when I'm playing, you know, but anyway, you know, it would be nice to see that. You know,
I think we've got a lot of work to do here to do that, because music is in its intrinsically something that should be bringing us together, but in certain territories it can often divide us. So I think we've got a long way to go. I'm going to take a few questions. Is the mic over there? Cool. Okay, who's got a question? There we go.
Hey, how's it? My name is Lebo. I'd like to direct my question to Black Coffee.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Are you like a Superman? Are you always spot on when you produce, or is there stuff sometimes that you feel it's whack, and maybe you delete a beat like you didn't feel it?
There's a lot of deleted beats, man. Don't be fooled. There's a lot of stuff that I make and sometimes even play. That's another advantage, you know, of producing and DJing. We always try the tracks out and play it once, I play it twice. I'm like, nah, it's not working, you know, and that's shelve it, you know. But I started out, I mean, doing songs on my own. My first 2 albums, I was that guy, you know. I wanted to be known, I wanted people to know. Especially then, because most albums were compilation albums. you know, and I was so much against that. I was so much against music being imported and money being taken overseas, and you know, I was like, I want to do like a locally produced album. But over the years, you know, I work with a lot of people. You know, I work with a lot of people, and there's people who can do what I can't do. You know, simple example, when I was given the Avicii remix to do, you know, I worked with Black Motion, you know, on the drums, and you know, that's where I am. You know, I'm speaking to Da Capo on my album. I want to do a song with him. I want to work with Dixon. I want to work with Mapodisa. I want to work with everyone, basically. You know, I'm at that point where I'm open, you know, to start working with other people. But it's never that perfect, man. You know, yeah.
Cool. Another question over here. Oh, you got the mic there, and then we'll come to you after that.
Firstly, thank you for being here. Like, we really appreciate your time. My question is for both of you. The one thing both of you have in common is that you are actually big internationals. Black Coffee might be from South Africa, but you're probably our biggest DJ, yeah, by far. The unique parts that you guys have got is that your styles are unique to yourselves. And they're not commercial. As much as you might have some tracks which are a little bit more commercial than others, they're not. How did you manage to break yourselves in with your own style as opposed to being commercial? Like you mentioned 5FM. We all know that the record labels here say you need to produce something that is going to be radio material before we start looking at you, and then you use that to break in. Is that the right way to do it, or how did you guys actually do that?
I said it before, when I produce for the dance floor. This is the first thing for the people. Trying to think about a party, which was amazing, that my DJ said, I loved my DJ set. That doesn't happen that often in the year. So, and then I'm like, wow, I'm inspired. And I go back to the studio and I'm like, I'm taking this inspiration with me, and I try to rebuild the whole 6-hour set or 3-hour set into one record, into one peak. This is my thinking, to break myself. And maybe that's why my style is unique, because I never think about a radio version or this and that. But when it comes about an album, when I produce for an album, then it's a whole story, it's a concept. This is the way I see it. I never release an album with club tracks. It's a concept, it's a story. So there might be a couple of tracks which might be poppy, which might be completely different to what I play, or I even never ever gonna play them. But this is an album, and that's a difficult part that the fans will understand. You know, it's like, well, it doesn't sound like you. Yo, bro, that's me. But it's an album. An album gives me the opportunity to do something else.
Wow, I'm so happy you said that. You know, this is one thing I'm always saying to the guys at the label. You know, you don't have to try and do an album that is going to be played in the club from track 1 till the last song. You know, you want an album that people will clean their houses to, you know, do their laundry to, you know, cook to. Basically start consuming that space at home. You know,
you can cook and clean to this as well, you know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Sometimes some tracks from the album where you never think this is for the club, they turn out to be a club record. You're like, okay.
Yeah. And also, there's always an opportunity to get other people to do remixes, you know, and take the music to the club. You know, especially in South Africa, I mean, when you do an album, you have to think radio, because this is how the whole scene is set up here. You know, you want your song on radio, you want your song on TV, you know. Then if you wanted to go to the clubs, there's a lot of producers here that could do like the dub version, like the edits and the remixes, you know. So yeah.
Cool. We had a question here.
In terms of mixing down your track, do you focus, like when you're in the studio, do you do your own mix downs, or do you send it off to an engineer who does the mixing, and then obviously another guy does the mastering?
No, I do.
Like obviously, gain structure is very important when you make a track. And in terms of your structure of a track, do you have a specific structure? Do you work on your melody first? Do you have a certain key that you like to work in? You know, like, do you start in your melody in A minor, or do you just go in and...
Yeah. I always try to avoid that, you know, like working with that MIDI controller keyboard thing, you know, because I used to do that. Now when I start songs, I work on my laptop and enable the keyboard thing on the laptop, because then I don't know what key I'm playing. Yeah, so I just follow my ear, you know. And if sometimes I end up doing the songs on the same key, I'm able to just transpose it, you know, and just change the key, and that's it, you know. And as for mixdown, I do it myself, and over time I found that I don't get it right all the time, and I'm fine with it. You know, sometimes I feel my vocals are a bit loud, should have turned them down a bit. You know, my bass is a bit loud or it's too low, you know, but I'm fine with it. You know, over the years, I get it right, sometimes I don't.
It's like a science on its own.
Yeah.
So, but what structure do you have when you're going into, like, say you're inspired to make a track now, you go sit in the studio. Do you start with a melody first? Do you start with a loop, get a loop
You
going?
mean starting producing?
Yeah.
Whatever you got.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you got. Sometimes, if I'm in the studio and I have to do something. This happens also sometimes. I just go through my sample library, or I listen to hip hop, or I'm just listening to jazz music, and all of a sudden you're doom 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 doom. Oh, doom 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 doom. Oh, doom 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 doom. Oh, okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'd have that bass line like bothering me, and I'd record it on my phone and keep it there. Sometimes it's a melody. This is how Superman came about. The chorus idea, then I recorded it on the phone. You know, sometimes the beat is there. I remember now on my trip, and then there was just an idea, but I was boarding a plane and I couldn't wait to get in and sit down and record before we take off, you know. So it's different things, man, you know.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens when you DJ. Then I look at my tour manager, give me my phone. Why? Write down, like, you brought two records together that reminds you to another record. You're like, what is beat? I have to do this. So you'll write myself an SMS or a WhatsApp.
So if you don't mind, I just want to have a quick...
Just give it short because we need to move on. So quickly,
Okay.
really quickly.
When you're on the road, like, your guys are obviously busy, you know what I mean? You don't have time between gigs to go home to your studio here in South Africa, for instance, and go make a track. So if I was a producer on the road and I wanted to make a track, what would your setup exist of? Like, what headphones, little MIDI 25 key keyboard? How does it work?
I have a laptop, man. That's it. And I have Sennheiser's headphones. My laptop is quite jacked up, you know, with waves and nice sounds, and I actually prefer it than my studio. You know, that's it. You know, I bought myself this small Bluetooth speaker. When I get to hotels now, I just connect via so I can hear the sound. Yeah. But laptop, that's it. Yeah.
You're lucky you have that time, bro.
We're gonna take one more question, and then we're gonna have to move on. So, yeah, one more question here.
Yo, Loco, when you made Sing Through Shadows, and by that time it was a song that like stuck out, it stood out from what was going on. When you gave it to Ricardo, did you know, like, did you feel like really think the song was gonna blow up?
Hell no. That was the last song I thought it ever gonna be released. Because El Gallo Negro, Flight LB, Harissa, all these tracks that I made, they are, in that time, DJs could play it. Seeing Through Shadows, nobody will start dum 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 dum. I thought somebody will say to me, that's gay, come on, what do you want to do here, man? Believe me, in that time it was like, it had a long build-up. As a DJ, a long build-up can kill the vibe. I never thought about this. I just produced it, and that's why I gave it to Ricardo, because I know Ricardo is one of those DJs who doesn't give a fuck about if the dance floor is empty or not. I'm playing my music now.
A few more questions for you, and then you're going to give us a quick 10, 15-minute demonstration outside on your gear. Then we're going to take a few minutes, and then we're going to play a bit of music later. What's the next step for you? Obviously, you're leaving South Africa. When are you doing your collaboration with Natty?
Now.
On your laptop. in the room.
I'm going to Brazil after this, and then I'm going back home, spend some quality time with my family, which is important before the madness starts. I have an album coming up, and yeah, there's a lot of work still to do.
Cool. And what's your next escapade?
I'm also working on an album, planning to release it in June outside South Africa, and in August in South Africa. So yeah, I'm currently in studio, man. I have a lot of people that I'm chasing, you know, to feature on the album that I can really talk about, you know, like vocalists, mostly from America, and you know, yeah, that's my biggest goal right now.
Cool. You
Yeah.
guys are busy. So
No,
thank
no
you,
way, man.
thank you so much, as always, Natty, for supporting Bridges. You know,
Thank you, man.
we really appreciate it so much, and thank you for coming down. I want to thank Red Bull, who also gives a lot of support.